So Dustin Poirier is taking on Benoit Saint-Denis. I actually found out his name. He came out of nowhere when he fought Matt Frevola, and I was completely on Matt Frevola's team because I've just seen how he's steamrolled through the competition. Speaking of which, I think Matt Frevola should take on Paddy Pimblett. I think that should be the next fight for Paddy after Tony Ferguson, but I could get back to that on a later date. I'm gonna have to write that one down. But Benoit Saint Denis knocked out Matt Frevola in the first round, and Matt Frevola was that dude who was like just etching into the top 15, who kept on going. Like this guy was just always proving the doubters wrong, and then one day he couldn't do it, and it was Benoit who did this. And I just called him the Knights Templar because he had the Templar cross on his thing. But this guy Benoit Saint Denis is now taking on Dustin Poirier, so he is shooting up, up, up in the rankings, and if he could get this fight and take it out, then I think he's got a really good shot at a very soon like title fight. That would be really interesting to have a lightweight French champion. I believe he's from France. It's pretty self-explanatory name. I might be wrong. I'm just finally finding out more about this guy, but I do remember seeing him fight at UFC 295 against Matt Frevola, and that was a very memorable fight. A lot of people really didn't see him coming out of nowhere. He was just that silent killer, and now he is running through it too. Benoit, he is he's a force. And I could see why Dustin Poirier is a betting underdog for this fight because Dustin's getting to that point in his age where he's going to want to fight people who are around that same area because it's almost like the top five at lightweight, like those guys, they're just starting to edge out in age and they're now becoming the old generation of fighters. And here comes the new generation. And we're starting to see that gigantic shift where the older fighters who were once younger are starting to get older are going to start losing a little bit because 155 it's getting way more devastating than it's ever been before. Ever since I was proven wrong about Arman Sarukian and Beneil Dariush, I'm starting to see it that a lot of these guys who have been around for a long time, they're not going to be around for very long. But even though Dustin is an understandable underdog because he's fought like Conor McGregor 3 times, he is he fought Michael Chandler after his title loss to Oliveira, and then when it came down to the BMF thing, I think he relapsed and Justin Gaethje ended up KOing him in the second round, which is good on Justin Gaethje's thing, but I think that it's also a sign that Dustin Poirier is starting to like lose a little bit of his prime a little bit, and it's just starting to kind of start to go downhill. I don't think it's a bad thing. I have nothing but respect for Dustin Poirier. He's one of the best 155ers to ever do it. His comeback story in that Conor McGregor trilogy was one of the most inspirational things, and it was literally like a giant movie, pretty much, seeing all three of those fights play out the way it did. Like the villain finally being vanquished. I know that Conor liked to play the heel, and you know what? When the villain got vanquished, it was pretty brutal with that bone snap. Um, but he has been criticized a lot for not taking on up and comers. He's just been kind of choosing his fights, and understandably, when you're at that height and you have that stock, you want to pick your fights because it's not like the UFC video games anymore. Well, never was. But Dustin's going to want to pick his fights and get the money fights because he's probably thinking about, I want to get out of this fight game with my health as intact as it can be so I could provide for my wife and daughter. He's obviously doing that now, so I don't really know why he has to fight anymore, to be honest. I think he should almost be done around this time. And you know what? If he wants to call it a career, I don't blame him. But he has been waiting for that fourth Connor fight. And I don't really think the fourth Connor fight needs to happen. I think that third fight told everything that Connor has relapsed so bad that even then, I'm worried about his fight against Michael Chandler coming up in the near future. But what I would say about Dustin Poirier is, he's gonna say, you know what? The fourth fight ain't going to happen. We already know who's going to win that. Even though it would have been a fat payday and an easy fight for Dustin Poirier, I really think that the Conor fanboys need to stop coping with that third fight. Conor was getting beaten pillar to post in the first round. But fighting Benoit Saint Denis, that is a huge risk for Dustin because one thing I will say is now Dustin can't be criticized for not taking on these up and comers. So I do honestly would have to pick Benoit in this one, but we'll see because there's a difference between fighting Matt Frevola, who literally turned away from a shot, and then fighting Dustin, who should know better. And if Dustin shuts down Benoit, or at least we have a good fight where Benoit is able to show just what he's made out of, even if he somehow were to fall short in a decision that went to Dustin Poirier, right? Because it's supposed to be a 5 rounder. So this is, from what I've read, this is going to be a big deal of a fight. So if Dustin Poirier can somehow edge this out, and he gets better as the rounds go on, so we'll see. But he's doing a good job picking Dustin Poirier on this one. I think Dustin can win this. Do I think he's going to? I'm gonna have to pick early Benoit, just because I think that Dustin Poirier is just reaching that time in his career where it's almost time to hang up the gloves. Father Time always goes undefeated, but I'm picking Benoit right now. I don't like to pick against Dustin Poirier because I'm such a big fan of his, but other than that, that's what I got. If you guys have anything different to say, let me know. Shoot it up in the comments. I'll see you next time.